What's up, everyone? Johnny Salmon here, back on the Fitness and Business podcast. Today, I've got a guest that I met maybe 12 months ago, and we've been bouncing back and forward trying to jump on a podcast. And here we are. Jason, how are you?
Good, mate. Good. Yeah, no, it's finally good to connect with you. Yeah, it's been almost exactly 12 months since we first met. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it was a crazy year, I think, probably not just for both of us, but for everyone I seem to talk to were just frazzled by December last year. And I think people were running on vapors, sort of coming up to Christmas. A lot of people I spoke to pretty much were pretty much toast. So, yeah, it's good to welcome 2025 and nice and fired up again, ready to go.
Jump on a pod. Here we go. And if
Yeah.
you're a new guest here, thanks for landing on the show. Fitness and Business is about getting high performers, particularly men in business, keeping fit and strong in body and mind. Because if those two things start to, diminish, you can't keep running your business because it probably can't
Exactly
run
right.
without you.
No,
So
that's why I was
that's what
looking
our
forward to this one,
conversation
mate.
is around. Yeah,
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 perfect. Yeah, because I've been, as we talked before we started, I've done a lot of posts on that recently. And it's funny the amount of DMs I get from guys that don't want to publicly sort of react to the post, but they'll actually DM me. And yeah, it's
likewise.
amazing some of the feedback here from guys really struggling. So yeah, I look forward to doing this sort of stuff and love the work you do because, it does make a difference. And without health and your mental, state being in a good place, it's life's hard enough as it is without those things being out of balance.
100%, mate. I agree. And it's interesting you say
Mm,
about the DMing thing. Like I'll put a lot of stories and posts and polls and stuff up that's, put a comment here or click this poll or things like that. And publicly, people are quite often reserved. And I probably am myself
mm,
as well. But
yeah,
when you can connect with people like we're doing and build those know, like, and trust factors, and people go, well, I can trust this person. I'll
yeah.
speak with them about that. You start to unpack, especially when I get on Zoom with people and onboard them into my coaching business.
Mm,
Some of the stuff that comes up that people struggle with is like,
it's amazing, isn't it?
how long
Mm,
have you been dealing with this for? So
yeah.
if that is you, reach out, like have the
Yeah, and as well,
conversation. It's
people in the message just DM me or if I see someone put a post or reply and you can feel the pain sometimes. It's just
mm,
I hit them up sort of separately and say, hey, here's my number if you ever want to have a chat. Because I lost a good friend or it was a long time friend to suicide. Actually in October last year,
yeah,
and
wow, sorry to hear.
for all intents and purposes, you wouldn't have picked it, right? And he was a very public figure and sort of out there and. Yeah, it sort of woke me up a bit, I think, on that
Mm,
front that you really need to reach out and connect and talk, not just bullshit talk like, just send someone a birthday message or, how's it going, mate? Just go, how's it really going? Are you okay? If anything's happening, let me know, and really talk through it. I think it's a big change. But the next generation of people or kids are sort of like my daughter's 20, coming behind seem to be a bit more open about that and a bit more vulnerable. But yeah, I think, generationally it'd be good to make that shift a bit more broadly.
for sure, mate. And I agree with what you said about the um, completely just lost my train of thought then. Something you
That's
just
all.
mentioned. I hate that. I just looked down at my
Yeah, you
pen and
could
my
edit that
brain went
out.
spastic. Yeah,
You could edit that out.
mate. It was to do with that was it. When someone is doing, like, when some people, us people that strive to do bigger things every year, and we're trying to grow ourselves personally and professionally, because not everyone's in that boat. And if you're listening to this
No.
podcast on this channel, you probably are in that boat, and you're trying to work out how to
Mm,
stay in shape in your body and your mind. And one of those one of those key things is making sure you have a support network and have those conversations,
mm,
because no matter if you're in a startup phase, probably like myself, or you're in a booming business with a lot of team underneath you, and I have clients in both those pools,
mm.
the pressure is the expressed pressure out of those people's mouths is the same. They just have different
Exactly.
levels they're dealing with, and they're adjusting to those levels. But the pressures and the internal narrative and the self talk and the things that we go through can often be very similar. So,
Yeah.
mate, let's
100%.
dig in. Let's give anyone listening a
Yeah,
bit
go
of
for it.
background. So returning guests will probably know what I'm about, but let's dig into
Mm.
you and what you do, just so people have an idea of the busyness, because you've got a very busy schedule.
Yeah, yeah. No, and again, just prior, I think we were sort of just catching up on, for myself, it was a busy year last year. So predominantly cybersecurity. So is my business or my main businesses and has been sort of for the last sort of 8 or 9 years, I suppose. And before that, it was sort of a domain name or hosting business that sort of got me into cybersecurity. And then prior to that, it was actually just doing a lot of capital raising. So I'd started way back, and this shows the age, but when signwriting turned to vinyl cut letters, which was back in the late 80s, and we were the first company in Australia to do that. And so as a late teen, I was lucky enough to have a very entrepreneurial boss who bought the first machine. And so
Yeah,
from
wow.
going from a three-man operation, by the time I was 20, we had 17 full-time staff and about 64 subcontractors. So we're doing things like currently on at the moment the Australian Open tennis and Disney Asia and all Burger King, all these big jobs because we had these machines. But that sort of I think started my entrepreneurial journey because of Darren, who was my first boss. He sort of got
Sure.
me onto that path, got into photography, and we did a bit of photography, and then moved into finance because in one of the photography businesses I got sort of stitched up, right? So I then thought I need to become more financially savvy here so that doesn't happen again. Did
Mm.
a diploma of financial planning, worked in finance, and then that got me into capital raising, which then I did list a business on the ASX, which I started in '03, which then listed on the ASX in 2011, which was a mine site remediation technology. And at the same time, we were sort of heading that to a listing, started or was co-founder of a whiskey business called Starwood Whiskey, which some people might know if they're whiskey drinkers. I've not partaken for a couple of years now, but I did drink a lot of it in the early days, and
When you're
probably
creating stuff.
cost us a bit
Yeah.
of profit. And that got bought by Diageo, sort of Johnny Walker Smirnoff brands that people will probably know back in 2015. And
Wow.
then after that was where we sort of moved into cybersecurity. So Australian Cyber Network, I'm chair of the Dynamic Standards International, which is an industry body for standards for cybersecurity, and then also just have my own consultancy, Murphin Group, with Tom, and we run that to sort of help almost consult to all cyber businesses to help them become better businesses.
Unreal. Unreal. Thanks for
Mm.
sharing that background. That was, I'm sure you shared that before because it was very succinct across the timeline. It
There's a
was
brief
good.
history in time. There's a lot more in there, but that's
Yes.
sort of the top line stuff. If I tell about all the failures, that'll go for about 3 times as long. So,
That's a great point, and it ties into fitness, and we can circle back to it. But just to
yep.
touch on that now, failure is inevitable, right? Like
Oh, mate.
you,
The fuck
the
ups
list
I
of
have,
failures
though,
will be way higher.
oh, and money lost, right? So it's like a
Yep.
gambler, right? They always tell you about their wins. They never tell you about their losses. Oh, I went to the horse. Oh, I picked the trifecta or whatever, right?
Yes.
Gambler playing the pokey. They go, oh, I won 12 grand. Yeah, but you probably put 20 grand through the machines or something like that. So yeah, no,
Yeah. What's your line of credit?
there's
Yeah,
littered bodies of fucked up businesses that didn't work out that sit behind those ones that did work. That's how you learn, right? Trial and error.
for sure. 100%. Totally
Mm,
agree. And even though my business still runs as the same business, the ideas and the methods and the coaching program that it once
mm.
was is completely different now because
Evolves. Yep.
it failed. Like things failed. It didn't work. I wasn't
Mm,
smart enough. I wasn't
mm.
good enough yet.
Yep.
So yeah, touch wood. So mate, thanks
I
for
know
sharing the
it's not often
background.
being. I was gonna say actually, it's not actually often being smart. I've seen a lot of stupid people do very well in business, and probably because of their stupidity. Sometimes smart people overthink things, overanalyze things, and don't take action.
Mm,
Whereas dumb people just go ahead and do stuff. Right? As long as you see the signs, I think I know from talking to you, you're a smart enough guy. And it's not about not being smart. It's just sometimes you just try things and it doesn't work, but it's try again. It's like a kid walking, right? The kid falls over after trying to take the first step. The parents don't say, oh, after 3 tries, I'll give up. You're never going to walk. They just keep
mm.
going till they can walk, right? And just try different ways and you build up to it. And that's business as well. It's trial and error and just learning what you're good at. And I think what we need to do in all facets of life is double down on what we're good at rather than trying to fix the stuff we're really shit at. Just stick to your
Yeah.
one wood. What things you're really good at and get really, really good at those rather than worrying about trying to often pick up the stuff that you're weak at. And you can often get someone else to do that.
That's a really good point. I appreciate your comments. That's great.
Mm,
Mate, the sharing your where you're at and exactly what you do, we
mm,
briefly touched on it, but give any listeners an idea of like, particularly the back end of last year, you were traveling a
mm.
lot. How many days in Melbourne?
Crazy.
So Jason lives in Melbourne. How many days did you spend in
Yeah.
Melbourne in the last 6 months of last year?
It was probably, I think I worked out in the last 18 or 19 weeks it was 5 working days in that period, sort of running up to that. So it was, and sometimes in a week it'd be 3 cities in a week. I mean, one week it was sort of Adelaide to Hobart to Sydney, within in that time. So you're traveling a lot of hotels. It interrupts with your sleep. Sleep's obviously we know key. Probably as a
Mm.
key pillar. So you want to get your sleep right. The reason I stopped drinking a couple of years ago was because of the amount of travel. You go to a hotel room, you've had a couple of glasses of wine, you don't get the air conditioning right, the pillow doesn't quite feel right, you don't sleep well, you're slightly dehydrated, and that stacks up. When you're doing that. So
Totally.
I sort of look at travel almost like being a professional athlete as well. Is you've got to time it, you've got to try and get your sleep. When you find a good hotel, I stick to those as best I can, to make sure I stay at the same one. So I know how to
Yeah,
set the air conditioning. The pillows are good,
the
that
little
there is a
thing.
good gym there. Yeah. Always book one with a gym and all that sort of stuff. If I get pushed, because there's a lot of these conferences and stuff don't have the greatest food, try and prep food as best you can, or get those sort of chef meals, or, the ones that are the sports meals that you can get high protein, and lower calories or something like that. Some, low calorie snack bars, the high in protein, all that sort of stuff you try and
Mm,
preload or preempt. That's why I find those protein body, that's just not water in at the moment, but they're good for traveling. They're 30 grams of protein
it's
and
great.
then they're only 113 calories or something, so it gives you a
Perfect.
bit of hydration, and stuff. But yeah, it's just learning that on the run, isn't it? Like we're talking about, you just got to find products that work. And I try and stick to the same smoothie every day, same lunch or as close to that as possible, and a dinner with, protein and the macros as close as possible as I can all the way through. And that calorie range of being around 2000, every day. And, if you can sort of try and stick to that as close as you can, get your steps in during the week, like 8 to 10,000 steps. And then on weekends, I could try and do 12 to 15, and try and keep that in range. But I track everything
Mm.
as well to make sure, through the watches and MyFitnessPal and then the fitness app to make sure you can sort of track that you're actually improving as well. In business, you need that as well. You got to track these things. You just don't know
Big
where you're
time.
at. Yeah.
Big time, mate. There's some there's really like golden points in there that you just said, and one of
Mm,
the things that I hear a lot, and this is why I wanted to touch on that, is that um, people that are conducting business around the country, they're traveling, they're moving, or they're up on
mm,
Zoom, the US, the UK, in the middle of the
mm.
night, and they're getting disrupted
Yep.
schedules. And often we can wait till we come back. Are we back?
You're back. Yeah, you disappeared.
Am I back on
You're
audio for
back.
you as well?
Yep.
Perfect. People use these crappy excuses that, like, I'm traveling, I do this, or got a family event, or got my
Mm,
mate's birthday or wedding on the weekend. It's like, if you added up all those across the year, there's going to be so many opportunities to just run your mouth with excuses. But I'm really big
yep.
on finding, which you obviously have, finding those little key metrics, which what gets managed. Um, what's the saying? What gets measured gets managed, and what gets managed gets
Correct.
improved.
Yep.
So if you can do that, you've got these key things that you said, like steps, sleep, basic
Mm,
food. Try and stick to the routine. It's not super
yep.
difficult. Like,
No.
really, once you embed it in the lifestyle and you do it in a way that works for you. And I think
And I think that
people can
Atomic
often miss that.
Habits one, Johnny, yeah, the Atomic Habits, I think if you
Yes.
focus on the ones at a time, if you can, like trying to do change too much at once sometimes overwhelms people. But,
Yes.
at the start of the year, I always do a goal. Like 2 years ago, it was the alcohol one, sort of take that out.
Mm.
That one alone, the game changer for sleep and everything else for me was massive. It was actually a really hard adjustment, especially going to social functions and in the industry I'm in, and all the events I go and talk at or are part of, there's
Mm.
alcohol there, right? It's always let's have drinks after, or there's always alcohol around, right?
Yeah.
I don't struggle with it that much, and at the beginning I was really giving myself a pat on the back every time I got home and just had the water or the soda water. And was like, oh, how
Mm.
much better do I feel? Like I was so tempted, sometimes just grab a red wine off the thing or that really good bottles. And I was doing a lot of talks. It was funny early days where I'd do a talk and it's like, oh, thank you for talking. And here's a nice bottle of wine or two. Like it's almost like
Yeah. Yeah.
ironic that I don't drink and I'm getting that sort of stuff, right? But
Yeah.
that was a challenging one. But I found that often if you drink, you then make worse food choices as well, right? So you're more likely to
Yes.
grab the spring rolls or something rather than, oh, there's something, like just some lean chicken on a plate or something like that I could have, and filling up before you
Totally.
go and stuff. So yeah, you got to sort of gamify it in your own head and strategize before you do it, or else you do turn up and you're hungry. There's drinks there. You haven't drunk enough water, so you drink a couple of beers and then you grab a couple of spring rolls and then your calories are blown out, 1,000 for the
Yes.
day, and you're playing catch up. It's like a bank account, right? You're just
Totally.
whittling away your savings, So yeah, there's sort of things you got to watch. But I understand because I've been in the same situation that sometimes you just got to chunk these things down. But now that I've
Mm.
sort of focused on each different area individually, pieced together, it's made a massive change.
100%, man. And around the small habits and not choosing to do certain things. It's funny when you look at social media at the fitness industry, there's people do videos and someone else picks the video
Mm,
up and pays the other person out about the video and says, that's bullshit. You should do my program.
yeah.
Anyway, my point is, I remember seeing recently a couple of videos back and forth about flying, about don't eat the plain food,
Mm,
it's bad for you. And then someone else picks it up and says,
mm,
don't worry about it. It's just one meal, da da da. And for me,
Mm,
when you look at client avatars and who those people
mm,
are that I'm working with and who I'm trying to talk to in this podcast, some of the people I work with are on planes 1 to 6 times a week. Like you just said, three
yeah,
different
all the
cities.
time.
That's 6 planes.
Mm,
So
yep,
if out of
yeah,
21 meals, 3 times 7 is
mm,
21, six, that
mm,
leaves only 15 choices. And
mm,
in those different cities, you've then got 15 options wherever you want. So if you're making poor decisions,
mm,
that's an entire week. And if you do
yep,
that 4 times every 6 months, like
yeah.
that's 2 months a year. So
It's hard,
anyway, I'm just
right?
doing some
And I
quick
think
maths
people
to
set the
say,
game up. No, you're right, but people set the game up to lose sometimes, and you can't be so hard on yourself if you do have a slip. Because if we do look at that savings account analogy, if you blow out 1,000 calories, then you just got to drop for the rest of the week. You've got to drop 200 a day or something, for the rest of that week or something, just to try and balance it out. It's not like one fuck up
yeah,
ruins the week. It's just that you just got to balance it out somewhere else. And I think people go, "Oh, well, I fucked
yeah,
up now. I might as well just go back to eating shit." Like it's not the way to look at it. You just got to just keep. Just keep just getting good habits in place, and then your body just craves better food anyway. And as soon as I eat
for
something
sure.
that's shit, I feel it straight away. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
the discipline of that, and just I love not having to think about what I eat. I know I have the same smoothie. I pretty much have the same lunch, 89% of the time, and then
same.
dinner
Yeah,
doesn't change that much either. But I love the food I pick, so I just pick meals I love, and I look
yes.
forward to like my chicken and salad wrap at lunchtime. In my brain, I've got it set up like I used to love chicken fillet burgers from KFC. And I've
Mm,
trained my brain so much that I'm having a chicken fillet burger every day for lunch. I'm not. It's lean chicken. It's just chicken best
yeah,
grilled, 200 grams with a little bit of light
yeah,
mayo and, light cheese and all that sort of stuff. But in my head with the lettuce and everything, I'm saying that's what it is. And, so
yeah, yeah.
it's the games you play, right, to make it. And then it's so geared up in my head that I'm like, I'm just going to have this for lunch every day. How good's that? So it's just
100%.
it's the stuff you do, right? And then it
Yeah,
just becomes habit.
that's right, man. Man, I've got about three or
Mm,
four different meals that we'll cook. We'll just do a bulk cook and I'll eat it for lunch. We'll have it for dinner Monday night, for example, and just eat it for
mm.
lunch all week.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have to
And
think. I don't have to use mental
no,
real
it's so
estate when
good.
I want to put it into
Yeah.
business. I just heat it and eat it, and it
Yep.
keeps me fit. And I don't have to because there's so many again excuses where it's like I don't have time. I
Mm,
don't know where to eat. I don't know what to eat, so I'll just get Macca's. I'm like that's still a choice. You still have
yeah.
to make the decision and spend the time. Like just do some better decisions, different time.
And even on that, mate, if I get really stuck and I'm in a country town or something and there's a Macca's there, I just ask for the grilled chicken or just ask for the eggs or something like that, and they just put it in a box for me and give that to me.
Mm,
So you don't have to have the whole
perfect.
burger, right? And if you wanted a muffin, you could have just take the bread away and just eat the egg and that or whatever. Like there's still choice when you're still making a choice when you go there. And if it is the only
Yes.
choice, to say because in a country town sometimes it can realistically be, or you're at a food stop when you're doing a long trip or something,
Mm,
you can get Macca's, right, to say, just give me the grilled chicken thing, the fillets out of it, and you have
yes.
that, chuck some eggs in there or something like that, and you can still get getting high protein stuff, and you're not eating all the shit. So
So good.
as you say, it's still a choice. You can still pick what you want when you're in whatever situation, but you just got to know what those choices are. And I find it makes it easier that I've got limited because I just have those things, and I just know now when I go in the shops which aisles to hit and where they are and all that sort of stuff. I mean, Woolworths and Coles
Big
are pretty
time.
much the same every place. I know where to
Yeah.
find those body protein drinks and all the other stuff I need, berries or whatever. Off you go. It's easy.
100%. Mate, I've got some of the people that I coach. We've literally got foods that they resonate with them now and that they like eating, and we'll just
Mm,
keep screenshots in the notes in their phone or something in a little file. And it's kind of
yep.
like when I go to Bunnings, right? I'll get a list
Mm,
and I'll write out
yep.
the stuff, and I'll either look it up on Google to know where
Mm,
the aisles are, so I don't waste time, or I'll walk in and say, "Hey, Fred, where's this?
yep.
19, bang.
Yep.
Where's this?
Yep.
14, bang." And I write it all down and I go directly.
Yeah.
Woolies people know where all the stuff is. So if you've got a
100%. Yeah.
file, it's just like, bro, where's all these?
Mm,
You know?
that's it.
So
Yeah.
it's just systems and structure is what a lot of people lack with this stuff.
Yeah, and that's it, and that's why I think it's good what you do because once you learn that, and that's what you train, you're basically the person. You can give a man a fish to eat for a day, but teach a man to fish to eat forever, and that's the
Yeah,
skills you're teaching him. It's skills that hold them in good stead for a long period of time. But they
for
sometimes just
sure.
need that guide, and things like my fitness pal and that are good training wheels or training guides. To
Mm,
then what the weight is. I can almost pick up a bag of chicken now. No, it's going to be 250
you can
grams,
eyeball it.
or you can pretty much look at it and go, that's the
Yeah,
size, right? So yeah, but
totally.
it's just you got to sometimes have those guardrails put around your start with just so you get the hang of it.
Yeah. And it's often about liking the new way better than the old way. So if I
Mm,
was to say, hey, Jason, you got to do this, this, and this, and it's me bossing you to do it, and you've currently got
mm,
your systems, even if those systems are detrimental for you, if
yeah.
I said to you right now, mate, just from tomorrow, I want you to try this, and it was completely different, there would be
Mm,
so much resistance because it's so different. But if it
yeah.
was like, let's slightly shift the direction just by 2 degrees, it's an easy adoption. And then along that journey, you start to find, hang on, I've just changed 2 directions here, but in six
Mm,
miles, we're a mile apart.
that's it.
So,
Yeah.
like the plane analogy, so or one
Yep.
degree, but you're traveling on a different trajectory now to a route
Mm,
or on a route where it suits you. And on that note, you just mentioned before, you notice straight away when you eat the wrong things or don't look after yourself. Where do you
mm.
notice it? What happens? Because this will
Oh,
resonate
just
with a lot
yeah,
of people.
slugginess. Yeah, I think slugginess, like um, there has been situations where I've gone and got something and it's just like, oh, that felt breezy or heavy or whatever, and just
Yep.
slow digestion. It slows you down. Like you find, the food I eat is fuel, and I feel better after doing it. So I feel like I've fueled up, and I can keep
Mm,
going. If I do have these other things, and I think also not drinking made me more in tune with my emotions and my body. So I actually noticed things a bit better that was probably masked a bit by even just the occasional drink or something like that would actually throw me a bit off kilter and probably take a couple of days really for you to get back on. It stuffs your sleep, dehydrates you, it's not good. I think the US Surgeon General's on the 3rd of January 2025 put out a report saying that now it goes cigarettes, obesity, and alcohol. So their recommendation is that they're going to put warnings like they do with cigarettes on alcohol bottles. So all the stocks in the US at the start of January, on the 4th of January, all tanked just due to this US surgeon's warning. So it stuffs your brain cells. You can't think as well. There's stuffs your
for
liver.
sure.
There's so much stuff that throws out, and you got microbe health and stuff like that. So I think if you're
Mm,
feeding your body good, it's like the fuel. Put shit in your car. You get shit results out of it. Formula One. If you want to look at yourself like a high performance sports car or the like, what do they put in
yes.
there to make sure they perform at the highest level? And you want to look at yourself the same way.
100%. Mate, I use that example and I'll literally say to people, this is cliche. Everyone uses it, but I've got
Mm,
my own little twist on it. And it's like, you got a high performance vehicle, which plenty of people have great businesses, have great vehicles, but
mm,
as in the one with the steering wheel, but often not this one that they live in every day. But
mm,
you pull up at the fuel station and you're going to go 98, aren't you? And you'll go to the fuel
mm.
stations that are more reputable because they've probably got cleaner fuel with better tanks that don't leak, that don't have the shit in them.
Yep.
And if you've got to do that every day or 3 times a day and you're churning
Mm,
through that fuel, you're going to still go back to the best fuel station, get the best fuel for your hot
mm.
car. Now,
Yeah.
then you're going to take yourself to Macca's, KFC, Hungry Jack's, and
Mm.
fuel yourself with shit. It's like,
Yeah.
what? It doesn't make sense. But then try and
Yeah.
go to the meeting and make the big moves and be the big dog. And it's like, this is a massive mismatch. And I just
Mm.
wonder how people would operate if they just really looked after themselves, like
Yeah.
with simple
And
metrics.
that's it. And I think the business analogy is good too. Like I think you need to the financial health and of yourself just as an individual, but also if you are running businesses and people watching this run business is,
Yes,
understand the health of your business as well. That's a key thing. And what things you need to look after in your business to make sure it operates well, including yourself and your people. So
for sure.
I find that business and health, they sort of cross over. There's a lot of similarities across the board. And I think in
Mm,
life in general, that you can actually take a lot out of what you learn from health and discipline there that you can take over into other facets like your relationships or into business. Absolutely.
big time, mate. Big time. And often with those, when you just made the reference about business, how many, I guess, any business that's performing pretty well will track a lot of data. They'll track a lot of
Mm.
metrics, especially with revenue production,
Yep.
or probably profit
Mm.
margins. There's so much focus on that, and
Mm.
if you just take that philosophy or that mentality and go, wow, all I've got to track is 4 to 7 metrics with my health, and
Yep.
I'll be in such a different position. Whereas you've got
Mm.
hundreds inside a business,
Yeah, that's
you
it.
know.
And
So
the
it's
best
quite
business is
simplistic.
obviously the simplest. Yeah, you want to try and keep your business as simple as possible too. And in all businesses, you should know sales and marketing,
Mm,
but you should also know the margin. There's no, you're saying we're selling a product. what's the margin you're making out of that product? No, you're selling something for $100 and it costs you 110 to make. Much better to
Yeah.
sell $100 product, and you know that after all costs and everything else, expenses come out, that you got 30%, margin, or sort of profit on that. So
Mm,
knowing that, it's same with your body, isn't it? What is my ideal weight, or where do I feel best, or what are my measurements I'm taking to know if I'm actually the right size, if I'm carrying too much weight or whatever, like within
for
yourself, you need
sure.
to know those things and have a target that you go for. So I think one of the best sayings I've heard was, most people aim at nothing in life and hit it with tremendous accuracy. If you don't have a target or something you're moving toward in any facet of life, then often you can be in a lot of trouble as well. People just sort of go along thinking, oh, I just want to lose some weight. Okay, well, how much weight? If you set a goal that I want to make $1 million this year, be specific about, is that US dollars? Is that going to be from new money or new sales? Because you could sell your
Yes.
house, make $1 million from your house, and you've hit your goal. But I don't think that's what your goal or your intention was, at the start. But if you said, I want to make $1 million US in the calendar year of 2025, I want that to come from new business and non-existing stuff that I have in play, and then go from there, right? Then you've got something you can measure, because it's very specific. I don't think people sometimes,
Mm,
especially with goals in health, are like, I just need to lose a bit of weight, or, I want to put on a bit of muscle.
yep.
Okay, and right, yeah,
Yeah.
how much
Yeah.
exactly? Where do you want to
For
be? What are
sure.
you doing it for? What's your motivation? How long do you want to keep it off for? Is it for a wedding or something, and then people balloon out after it? So
Yes.
if you get the understanding, the metrics, and the mindset of why someone's doing something, and yeah, my
For sure.
motivation is to try and live as healthy as I can for as long as I can, and make sure that I can still be in my 80s and 90s, and being able to do box jumps, and being able to run, and keep my balance and all that sort of stuff. If that's my main aim, then I do everything I can to make sure that I can set my body up to be moving in that direction. So, or well into the hundreds. So
Big
it's
time.
whatever you're focusing on, where your target is, that you'll keep moving toward it.
Totally, man. And talking about that, it's a good segue. Training. Talk to us about what you do for exercise. You mentioned steps before, but you also mentioned
Yep.
hotels
Yeah,
with gyms
weights.
in it and things like that.
Yeah, I split it up. I make sure to myself, I want to do at least 5 sessions a week of weights.
Yeah.
So I split mine up really simply. For me, this is what works. I've tried so many different splits, but the one that works just from my recovery, I'm a bit slow with recovery, but I'll do back and buys. I'll do just chest and tries. I'll do shoulders and abs, and then I'll do legs. I'll usually put legs in before I do the shoulders and that. And what I do is I say I want to do at least five, because it gives me 2 days of grace period during the week if it does get a bit tight with travel or whatever,
Mm.
and do that. But I got sick only once last year, and I sort of missed a week where I think I needed 2 in the week or something, because I just was shattered. But yeah, I track everything, and some weeks I'll do 6 or 7. I try to do as many as I can,
Mm.
but I want to at
Mm.
least do 5 sessions, and just do that sort of 4 day sort of rotation.
That's awesome, mate. That's really cool.
Mm,
And that's another key point. You're doing what works for you. You know that,
yeah.
okay, I've got to travel next week. I've got 3 different cities in a week. So if I do 6 or 7 sessions this week, I just allocate the time
Mm,
because I might not get many in next week based on my schedule. You're just constantly managing that month to month perspective so that across each month or sprint or quarter or however you break your year down, the
mm,
outcome is the same across the year, that you've just
yep.
kept up your habits and you're creating that lifestyle rather than and people will come in and talk to me on their initial calls and get started, and it's the people that are like, I want to do all the things, I want to hit all
Mm,
these goals, I want to run a
mm,
marathon and do a bodybuilding comp and get to 6% body fat all in 1 year, and I'm like,
mm.
you're going to drop away.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm like,
Yeah, once
let's
you
pick
don't
one
tick those
thing.
boxes. Mm,
Yeah. Yeah, let's pick a couple of metrics. Let's pick one thing. It's too rah rah. But
yeah.
you've like, how long have you been in the same similar condition that you're in? Years?
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. You just stay in
And
that
it's the mind.
same.
It's the mind that talks it out of it. So I've had a lot of problems with my knees, and legs have always been an issue for me. So at the start of this
Sure.
year, or actually last year, set the goal, do a lot more single leg exercise, because my right leg, because of having knee reconstruction and stuff, is a lot less strong than my other. And I found that even because I was measuring the size, the right leg just wasn't growing as quick as the left. So I'll start with my right leg and do as many single leg exercises on it when I do legs, to try and build that, and then I just match it with the left, and that's actually starting to balance it out. So
Sure.
it's also just tweaking as you go along, and because I hated legs because of my knees being so painful and stuff, but I've tried different supplements and stuff, which has really helped, and I'm not getting the same pain. I'm enjoying legs again, which was something which I wasn't doing for a while. And if I had to skip a day because I was busy, I'll just miss legs, because it's the one I hated. But if you can get through the stuff you hate too, right, that also helps. Do the stuff, and I do the leg exercise that I absolutely hate, and then I feel so much better afterwards and just push myself. And it's that mental game in your head to say push further, and why you're doing this and why you're trying to strengthen your legs up, and you got to have a reason, to do it, and you got to talk to your mind, because your mind will talk you out of doing it, and find a way to avoid it. So it's that cross conversation where you have that conversation of why, and if your why is strong enough, then you'll get through and you'll find a way to do it.
Big time, mate. Big time,
Mm.
mate. I'm similar. I've had three knee surgeries on my left knee. One
Yep.
was minor, two were major. And I'm sharing that because I'll have particularly clients they don't sometimes understand. They'll see, oh, you're the coach or the trainer, and you've been fit all your life, and
Mm.
everything's good, and you just live
Got
this
good
lifestyle
genetics.
since you're
Mm.
born. It's like,
Mm.
hang on a second. Used to smoke, used to drink heaps, been through
Mm.
injuries, had
Mm.
done all the things. Which that's why I can coach. That's why I've learned the
That's why you
lesson, because
connect
I've
with people. Yeah,
stuffed it up.
exactly. Because I think the people that you don't connect with, like that's why you're so good, is it's the ones that are on these Instagram that are very young, have no life experience, have good genetics, and it just, at 20 everyone look good, right? Like if you
Yeah,
did a bit of training and stuff like that. And it's this living through life and actually the reality of it. That's why
yeah,
you connect with people so well, is because you can say, hey, no, the reason I can help you is because I wasn't perfect and I know how it feels to be where you are right now because I was there, right? So I can tell
yeah,
you what I did to get out of it. And yeah, I do the same with people that sort of considering if they want to give up drinking and stuff. So look, it won't be easy. And even if you do fuck up and slip every now and then, it doesn't matter. Like you could
yeah,
slip 3 or 4 times in a year, but out of 365, 361 is pretty fucking good, right? And then next year you might not
yeah,
do anything, and then you might have another slip the year after. But don't slip back to going full time drinking just because you have one slip up, right? That's not
for sure.
the way to look at it, right? And the more you stack good days on top, the better you feel, and that's what the body's looking for, is cues that it's we're doing this and actually we feel a lot better, don't we? So if you get close, in the early days when I was feeling like a drink, I'd say, yeah, but I could drink now and it might get that dopamine hit now, but how am I going to feel tomorrow morning? It's
Mm,
so much better. How much better does it feel getting up early in the morning and having a clear head? And
I bet.
that's the conversation you have. So you've got to have good conversation with yourself and be kind to yourself as well.
100%, mate. On the note of
Mm.
drinking, I'm very similar. Like I probably have alcohol 2 to 3 times a year.
Mm.
Like when you and I met on the yacht day, I would have
Yep.
had.
Yep.
I think I had one drink, maybe two,
Yep.
like a champagne when I
Mm.
got on board or something, and it was like, thank you. That's like, I'm
Mm.
good. And I might have a couple of events, Christmas and mid-year business events and stuff that I'll go to and have a drink, or five or seven,
Mm. Yep.
2 3 times a year. My point is,
Mm.
I had clients and people asking me, "What are you doing for New Year's, man? Like, what's going
Mm.
on? You're 32, young, married, no kids." I'm like,
Mm.
well, Mel and I are going to sit at home and read our letter to self that we did last year about our goals
Mm.
and aspirations and what we didn't do and what we didn't achieve and what we want to do next year. And we're going to write a new one
Yep.
to read next year. And it's like,
Mm.
what? And I'm like, because
Mm.
then I get to wake up at 5 6 a.m. tomorrow on New Year's Day on the 1st of January and spend day
Mm.
one preparing for a ripper year.
That's
And
it.
like
Yeah.
that excites me so much more than being like, oh, where's the bacon and eggs? Like my head's all
Yeah.
foggy,
That's right.
and
Yeah.
dude, like that's
I'll
I just
die.
think that mentality is dying. The nose
Yeah.
beers and the drinking and the
Mm.
partying is just I truly think it's a dying breed. And it's just
Yeah, I
like,
saw an article of that actually reflecting what you're saying, is that there was an article, the Generation Z or whatever it is that's coming through at the moment, a massive drop, 34% less than the previous generation of people drinking, and they just don't do it as much. So I think
mm,
culturally it is starting to change, but I think it's like cigarettes. Doctors used to recommend having cigarettes for certain ailments back in the 50s and stuff like that too. We
yeah,
found where that's wrong. People were saying, "Oh, you drink red wine because of the Revitazole or whatever it's called in it," and if you can get tablets to do that, you don't need to, have red wine. That's all the other effects. It's like, yeah, it's got this one little bit, and I'm sure that study was paid for by the wine industry to make sure that we can find a way that we can tell people it's healthy. But yeah, the truth's coming out, right? So it's a
yeah,
carcinogen, it's poison, and it's not doing you any good. But
for
that's
sure.
it's a choice then. If people know, I think a lot of people just still holding on to that. Oh, red wine's really healthy for you, or it's, it's okay to have a couple or whatever, So that is slow. That wheel is slowly turning. But yeah, look, I don't care if people drink. I mean, that's their own thing. I did it for a while. It was
Yes.
just once you start studying and reading the literature and all the different things and how it just actually felt for me. That's it. But there's people that live till 90, smoking cigars and drinking whiskey and all that sort of stuff,
Wild.
one a day or whatever. And that's again, good luck to them. But yeah,
Big
it's
time.
less likely than likely to happen if you're doing it right.
100%, mate. I do like a monthly Zoom scorecard meeting. I call it with the guys that are on my coaching program and guys and girls. And on the off now we have a phone call. But each month we jump on Zoom. I share the iPad screen and we go through the metrics. And one of those things that we talk about is a drink score. And there's like, Jason's decided that he might have 8 drinks a month. How many did you have? Like, let's get real. And it's like, well, I had 12. Right.
Yeah.
So 50, like you're 50% over, dude. Like, what are we doing about that for the next month? And it's just keeping your, and if you don't have someone else to do it, you can do that for yourself and go, well, what makes me still feel good, still operate at as high as I can. But if I want alcohol in my life or chocolate, beer, whatever it is for you, pick an amount that's like, you've still got to exhibit self-control. You're not just letting the thing or the vice run rampant. Like, self-control is, because we do that with so many other things, but I think food and training and looking after ourselves can just be like whatever, which is just
and I think if you keep your calories in check, you can give yourself, like, sometimes I really feel like chocolate. I'll just get one of those, like those, sort of collagen bars or something like that, like one.
I just had a chocolate one before. Yeah.
Yeah, this raspberry one's really good, but it was like, oh, I really feel like a chocolate thing. It's going to fit within my calories for the day. Or I just get those high protein yogurts, vanilla or chocolate or something like that, because chocolate was for me my Achilles heel. Cadbury's, I could eat a whole block of that in one sitting, not even think about it. How many calories is in that? But I can now have that, and I'm still getting the chocolate or the chocolate, almost like a chocolate pudding, and it's, I can do them for, like 131 or 170 calories, and I'm going to get 16 grams of protein or something like that, or 20 grams of protein, so
For sure.
it's just how you can allocate those however you want, but you want to make sure you're full and satiated, but also, having a lot of good fruit and veg as well, in the mix, and if you don't tolerate that, well, chuck it in a smoothie. I didn't love spinach or anything like that, so I'd chuck it in with my fruit in the morning. I'm getting that hit of the spinach, but mixed in with the berries and all that sort of stuff, I didn't really notice it, but it was a good way to get more vegetables in there. So, and I love Mexican stuff, so I'd always do the, beef mince, the lean beef mince, and I'd chuck in all my, corn and all the different things, and then chucking the lettuce in there and all that sort of stuff, so, and just having a taco bowl or something, or the loaded fries, that Big Mac one, if people are addicted to Big Macs, just lean stuff, bit of salt on there, and you just do that Big Mac sauce, just a little bit of that, bit of cheese, but you put onion in with the beef mince, you put your pickles on top and all that sort of stuff, and then you do some Spud Light in the air fry, 200 grams or whatever, put that underneath, and then you sort of feel like you're having a takeaway meal. Or I get those really low carb, sort of wraps, and you can make a chicken pizza, that it's you're doing 500 calories and you're getting 30 odd grams of protein, so there's ways you can sort of play the game to set it up for you to win, where you feel like you're still having bad food, but you're not, and you're still sitting within your goals, right? So I think the more you can gamify it and find these things, the better. And I think that's why you're so good at what you do, because you can help people find, well, what's your Achilles heel, what's your kryptonite? Okay, here's how we can put something in there that's going to help you still feel like you're getting that hit, not missing out, and hitting your goals.
Big time, man. They're really good points. If I'll encourage you, if you're listening to this again, Jason said some really great gold nuggets in the last few bits of communication. So that, like, a lot of advice that I give people of just like picking simple metrics, choosing those small foods that work for you. And I'll give you an example of something that happened a couple of weeks ago, actually late last year, because it's already the 15th. Andrew, yeah, dude, crazy, eh? That's right. Like, talking about the 1st of January with the letter to self thing and waking up early and getting into it, that was 14 days ago. I honestly feel it's like a month. It's more than a month.
Yeah. Well, I did the same as you. I did my goals and that week prior, because my birthday's in December, and I actually did my goals for the year ahead, and I wrote them all down, and then I break them up into months and stuff like that. So in January, I want to hit these milestones and do lots of stuff and break it all out. But I was in bed 10 o'clock, normal time, 31st, up a normal time. It's just another day. Right? My goals are made. I don't need to wait for a calendar change to change my life, right? So if I don't need to pivot any time during the year, if it's in August, if it's in March, whenever it is, I'll set a new goal and actually set it and just go for it. I set some really big goals in September last year, for the back half of the year, and really went for it, and just put
Mm,
everything I could into it. So don't wait for your calendar to flick over to make a change. But yeah, sorry to interrupt. You were going to say about some of the
100%.
habits with the food
No,
and
that's
that.
okay. I'll give you an example of the food thing because I discovered those No Way ATP, that brand of bar that Jason just held up is
Yeah.
ATP Science. If anyone's watching and wondering what
Mm,
it is, they make about 6 or 7 flavors now.
yeah.
I'll debatably say the best one's
Orange
the
and
chocolate one.
pineapple.
Yeah,
Mm. Yeah, the Belgian
chocolate
chocolate, the purple one.
purple
Yeah.
wrapper's the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
It's so good. I mean, I have one of them every day. And
Yeah.
there's a guy that I coach, Andrew. And I'll share you a quick story with yourself and anyone listening about this thing, right? About snacks and how detrimental it can be. Andrew came to me
Mm,
one and he goes, mate, and I get people to say this from time to time. This isn't working. The plan's not working. I'm
mm,
not losing
mm,
fat. It's not working. And, I'll be respectful but direct.
mm.
We back? Are we back? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back, mate. Yeah, you
Not
just
sure what's
drifted for a
happening.
sec. Yeah.
Um, People sometimes say that, look, it's not working, John. And I'm like,
Mm,
cool. What you been doing?
mm,
Like, because, there's all this big chunk of people that are doing the things and getting the results. So let's talk through that. Anyway, we discussed all the things and like, what's the vice? And the vice was Andrew likes snacking on cashews, right?
mm.
Or was it
Oh, they're high
almonds
calories,
or
yeah, if you
almonds? Almonds or
oh
cashews?
any nut, I think they're one of the sneaky ones, a nut, and
Wild,
especially if you get them roasted and then you're chucking salt on them and all that sort of stuff. A
man.
handful
Well,
of
we
nuts, it's a lot of calories,
we added it
yeah.
up, right? He's like, oh, I'll have a few a day,
Mm,
keep a few on the desk in a little tray.
mm,
And we added it up. I ended up
mm.
talking to his wife because I was like, something's not right here, because
How many
I
bags are you going through?
genuinely I really want. So tapping into Andrew a bit with his nuts. So I ended up talking to his, and these are cashews and almonds, not his testicles.
That's what I was going to say. Tell me they're doing his nuts.
Talking to Andrew and his
Probably
nuts,
less
talk
calories
to
than
his
those ones.
wife about
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Have you been? What's Andrew's nuts? Tell me the situation with his nuts.
so we talk about these. I honestly can't remember if it was almonds or cashews. It was probably a mixture
Probably
of both.
walnuts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But he's like, yeah, I have a few. Anyway, so we chatted
Mm,
out, and I really, if people give me the permission and the space to do so, I really dig into
mm,
like, let's fix these issues for you. And so
yeah.
otherwise they just hang around. And so we chat to wife, and we discover that
Mm,
he's probably going to the kitchen, work from home, ecom, about 3 times a day, goes out and just grabs a handful.
grab some.
And
Yeah.
so we'll go through the exercise of getting the scales, weigh them out. Like, let's get 3 of your handfuls,
Mm,
some generous handfuls. And it's
mm,
probably about, we worked out 600 to 800 calories a day
yeah.
on nuts, right? And so for
Yep.
some quick maths, if you do that just for the business week, 5 times 6 is 30. That's 3,000
Mm,
calories. So you just
mm,
said before you eat 2,000 calories. So you're eating
yep.
1.5
One and
days
a half
extra
days.
of food
Mm,
every week,
mm,
which is 6 days
that's right.
a month, which
Yep.
is what's that? 72 days a year.
72. Yeah.
That's a big percentage. And then
It's like
people say, mate, I
2 and a bit
just
months.
seem to gain three
Don't know what it
to
is.
3 to 5 kilos every 6 months. It's like,
And you got to be honest with that, mate. That's the thing is too, is when you're using these things, you got to count everything. Like I
yeah,
think people have a bit of food amnesia, and that's the problem is that, and often, especially with something like nuts, you wouldn't. Most people don't associate that that's unhealthy, and not that nuts aren't. They're great, right? They're
yeah,
good source of fiber and other things, but
mm,
it's all got to balance out. And are you really filling yourself up by doing that, or what other snacks could you eat that are actually going to make you fuller, for longer, and not have the need for that. So
for sure.
yeah, again, it's that mindset about being honest with yourself as well, because you're only fooling yourself, right? You're sort of going behind your own back if you cheat on this. It's not really affecting anyone else. You got to live with yourself and your own body
Mm,
and mind, 24/7. So you're with yourself every day. So if you're lying to yourself, that doesn't help. If
no
people
way.
are intentionally doing it, I think people do sometimes get a little bit of food amnesia, or in that case, I think with Andrew's case, eating nuts perceptually, that's what's wrong with nuts? They've got to be healthy, right? But you can imagine how many bananas could he eat for that, or
Yes.
if he had fruit, like I get the frozen organic fruit up on the smoothies and stuff, but
Yeah.
you could have that in a bowl with something at night, and just one of those protein yogurts or something like that, and that's almost feels like a dessert or cheating and stuff like that, you know. So
For
you
sure.
can find ways around it, and yeah, it's but yeah, that's the sort of stuff that sneaks up. But it's that education again. That's where you come in, right? I had to learn all this sort of stuff, and I was good that I had a mentor that sort of helped with that sort of thing. But
Mm.
it's a lot of years, and it's a lot of learned knowledge. If you can go to someone like you can fast track that, right? You know, and I think I
Yeah.
had to go through a lot of trial and error to get there. But if you get a good coach, and that's in any facet of life, it just makes a big difference. If I want to learn about something, I'll just go, "You're a coach, you know how to do it. Teach me how to do it." I'd rather pay and get there a lot quicker.
Accelerate
It's
the
going to
journey.
cost me a
Yeah.
lot. It just accelerate it, right? Because we haven't got enough time to stuff around.
Mate, especially if you've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 kilos extra body fat on you,
Correct.
like getting it off quickly and not in an unhealthy way, but quickly than
Mm,
what, I did a podcast yesterday, just an audio one, and put it out. It was talking about goals. And I'm like, if we
mm,
review 4 to 6 months of last year, so from either June or August, and you just look at how much progress have I made towards my health and fitness, and if I keep doing the same things, I'm going to get the same result. There's a year between those two
mm,
dates. Am I happy with that? Am I
yep.
happy for 12 months to
Mm,
just track at the same rate? Or if I accelerate that process with a coach, with YouTube, doesn't matter. You can pay
mm,
for it, you can do it for
mm,
free, but start taking those little steps towards making a difference in your own world. And before, when you said
mm,
about lying to yourself, mate, when I see someone when I'm engaging someone in a business sense, whether they're a coach,
mm,
mentor, to provide a service for me, to help me with something, which is usually why B2B employs another business, is to help them. That business
mm,
operator or that person who's on the other side of the phone, Zoom, desk, coffee table, if they don't look after themselves, and I can tell that,
mm,
and I'm in the industry, so I see it straight away, but it
mm.
just sends this message to me. I'm like, how the hell are you going to look after me if you can't look after yourself? Like,
Correct. Yeah, that's
how's
it.
that going to
Yeah.
happen? I don't, yeah. So,
Mm,
and that segues into, I want to talk about mindset. You've had some setbacks
mm.
in your journey. Let's share some of those things because they're not talked about often enough with people. So we can
Yeah.
often share wins, but I want to share some lessons if that's okay.
Yeah, I think I had two sort of, and I've never really been a depressive or a suicidal person in any way, but I have had a couple of times when I was really low. I think one time was actually in 2017 where businesses weren't going well that I was doing at the time, and I had my stepdad, who was like my real dad, and my one of my best mates died within 5 weeks of each other, and
Wow.
that triggered a whole sort of spiral down, stuff, and just a real reassessment of things.
Mm.
There was one that we set up a tire recycling business, like we spoke about some of the good businesses, but this tire recycling business was up in Western Sydney, and we got stitched up. You can find the article if you look in the Sydney Morning Herald with Simon Feldman and Richard Bamford were two older guys. I was only about 30 at the time, so probably around your age, actually, Johnny,
Yep.
and just babe in the woods type stuff, and yeah, we got stitched up with these guys. Simon Feldman was embezzling money out of the Suzanne's group that he'd sort of put into this tire recycling business. He was doing dodgy invoices for work, for fitting out of shops. So he was married to the daughter of the Suzanne's group, which is a large clothing group. And Richard Bamford were basically setting up this business. They took the drive belt out of the recycling plant, put it into liquidation. They picked it up on the other side and froze myself and my business partner out of the deal. But I was cash flowing the whole business pretty much on credit cards, so I was up to 380 plus grand's worth of debt. And then
Wow.
the business stopped. There was no money. And then, I'm left on the can sort of thing, and that sort of thing. And, marriage broke up, a whole host of things happened off the back
Mm.
of that,
Mm.
So it's, there's those sorts of things happen, right? And when you're in the depths of that sort of stuff, I actually did an article on LinkedIn actually yesterday about all this sort of stuff. It's often in hindsight or looking back, you see these sorts of things. But Adam, who, we're on the yacht with, we've been mates for, say, plus 25 years now or something like that. But it was something he said to me when I was going through the low period. He said, you're sort of like a dollar stock that's trading at cents in a dollar at the moment, and so whoever can pick you up at the moment is getting great value, sort of thing. But it's having that supportive group of friends and
Mm.
and others around that sort of, I think, really helped. I've got a small circle but very tight, and close knit group of friends,
Yes.
and I think getting through those sorts of things really help. And we all share the same stuff. So you saw the circle like you talked about when we were on the boat, for his 50th, early last year.
Mm.
It's the group of people you have, and that they say, and I don't know how true it is, but you become like the five closest people to, or that you sort of follow, or that are your best examples. I think you can get a good idea on who people respect and look up to as to what sort of person they are. If you say, who do you admire as a person? They might say Vladimir Putin, Adolf Hitler, all that sort of stuff. Or they'll, conversely, they could say, Andrew Huberman or, Tim Ferriss or something like that. You can sort of get an idea on who people sort of aspire to be or who they sort of follow and what they might be interested in or what sort of drives them, from an improvement sort of point of view or otherwise, So I think there's a lot to be said for that. So yeah, I think, I think it's great that you're doing this sort of stuff in the space because, you never know who's going to be listening. It might not be people listening now. It might be in 6 months or 12 months down the track. And hopefully we can give something or say something that gives people hope or open something up, because I don't think as guys we often speak openly enough or try and help each other out. And as you said, it's very confusing. I find the space that we're talking about today probably the most confusing when it comes to exercise. Everything you hear about the carnivore diet and you hear about, being vegan and you hear about this, you've got your Brian Johnsons out there doing this sort of thing. And it's just a myriad of stuff. And as you said, everyone's sort of potting each other rather than, and I think you've got to take responsibility yourself and say, what does work for me? Like I find when I eat these things, be really present in when I eat this, I actually feel, if I eat a steak, I fucking love a steak.
Yes.
I tried to be vegan years ago. This is like when I was in late 20s. I was with a girl who was a naturopath, all that sort of stuff, almost for 2 years, no drinking and vegan. I looked like a jockey. Like I was emaciated, I didn't know how to eat the right sort of protein. I'm sure eating vegan, you can do it I didn't know anything about proteins or anything like that, but I gave it a good crack. But yeah, I was hungry all the time. I was craving meat and all that sort of stuff. And oh mate, the first chicken I ate and the beef and all that sort of stuff. So I crave it, I love it, and it works for me. So I'm going to do it. But I think just what does work for you. Don't choose foods just because it's faddish. Choose foods that you actually feel that I can eat, that it's sustainable for me. And as I said, have a little treat here and there or do something that so you don't feel like you're missing out. But eat stuff that you actually, like you said before, mate, you love eating. That I look forward to the stuff I eat. I'm like, 100%. Lunch, can't wait. Oh, yeah, like
mate,
how good is this, right? But I feel full and I can get through the afternoon. Now I don't have to worry till I'll do a workout after we finish this, have some dinner, get back on the computer till 9:30 or whatever, be in bed by 10, and then rock and roll the same thing again. And it's just that system and knowing what I'm doing, and I prep all my food, like cut up all my chicken on a Sunday afternoon, all my vitamins are in packets for morning, afternoon, and that everything's set out for me for the week. Yeah, just make it easy, paint by numbers, so you don't have to think. I put my chicken in the fry pan. If I've got a 10-minute gap between I had today before my 1 o'clock, put it in, put my wrap in just to heat up in the other fry pan. Have the lettuce, everything else ready to go. Bang, done, eat it. Probably gave myself a little bit of indigestion. I probably should have chewed it today instead of just shoving it down in one hit, but
But mate,
I've probably got an extra set of teeth down here in the esophagus, right? But yeah, that's I don't have to think about stuff. It's done.
Yeah.
And you don't make mistakes when it's all done like that. You don't go, oh shit, I'll put some toast in and put some peanut butter on and just,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Mate, talking about MyFitnessPal, that's and we'll wrap up soon so the listeners don't have too long of a thing to listen to. But mate, I sit down.
They can do this before bedtime, mate. They can do it before bedtime. Put them to sleep.
Exactly. Good listening voices. But mate, I use MyFitnessPal, and I always say this to my clients. I'm like, if you just sit down once you get some systems and structures in place, you can sit down and preload it with your meals and your recipes and what you ate last week, quick add. You just build
every day,
out
mate. I just do that. I slide my thumb across. Breakfast yesterday, slide across, same as yesterday. Lunch, done. Slide across, same as yesterday, right? And you can save your meals. And I went to Crisp yesterday. I was in a meeting. I know I can get a Crisp salad. That's a salad bar down here in Melbourne. And I know the protein, I know the macros. It's 526 calories. It's 31 of fat. It's 44 of protein. And I could just put that in as a quick ad, So just do stuff that you know, and then you don't have to think. So even when I'm in the city and I've got back-to-back meetings, I know there's a Crisp salad bar where they are. Yes. But I can just go there and quickly sit down and order that and bang. It just
100%
set it up so it's easy for you to win, so you know where to go. Or go to Nando's and know what you can get and the chicken or whatever. So Macca's, we used that example before. Just there are so many choices for you. And people say, oh, it's too hard. It's not too hard. It's easy once you pick it. And when I go through the shops, I know the aisles. In aisle 1, let's grab those yogurts. I grab those bars over there. Next aisle, I grab these coffee beans because I have, a black coffee in the morning. And it's just, everything is just automatic. I just
routine.
And it's just routine. It just makes it so easy and so simple. And you just,
big time.
You don't have to think, grab these eggs, it's just, simple. So that's the best thing. And that helps with mindset because, as you said, it's the more you can take away. It's like Steve Jobs wore the same clothes every day, so you took that fatigue of having another thing to think about.
Yeah.
When you got these things all set up for you, you can really focus on the stuff that's important. You don't have to worry.
Talk about flow state. Try not having to, and think about this. And this is meant to sound cocky. This is just how I sort of run my stuff, my training, my nutrition, my water intake, my steps, all of that. It's in the calendar. I know what's happening. I don't have to think about it. I just do it every single week
No.
because it's all preloaded, which means I stay fit.
Yeah, I got mine blocked out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like it's not a big
And
effort.
I slide my workout one is a purple bar, and it'll either be early in the morning, depending on meetings. And today, because this one got bumped back, I got it like at 5:30 today. So 5:30 to 6:30, I'll have dinner by 7, all that sort of stuff. But it's a bar that I know, and then I just plan my day. So I've got to fly out tomorrow, Sydney. So then I'll just move my training to the hotel. I know where I'm going to be. I know where I'm going to check in. I know between that and dinner, I've got a time. So, and the one that they've got a thing with Anytime Fitness, the hotel I stay at. This is right next door. I know that gym intimately, so I know what my workout is, and I know the piece of equipment I'm going to be at.
Yeah.
And at the time I'm going to be, that it's going to be quiet and all that sort of stuff. I'm already future pacing all the good stuff that's going to happen. I already know what's going to happen.
Right.
It's just not going to fuck up. Yeah.
Yeah. Mate, that's really good. And that's
same with business. Systemize your business the same way, right? That I'll put this ad down or I'll send this out and I'll get this many responses. So I did a survey the other day, and I said we'll target 50. We've already got 42 back. So, and I haven't even DM'd a few people. I'll get those 50, overnight. With that, I know that I can do a certain thing and a certain activity, and I'll get a certain result. And you got to do that. But it's all trial and error. But as I said, you save the trial and error if you go to someone who already has the results on the board and say, "Show me how to do it." And that's what we do with the Murphy Group. Like I've already set up businesses before, and people say, "Look, I've got a business. I'm good at doing the business, but I don't know how to do sales and marketing, or how do I market my product better, or set up my website, or how do I do a sales presentation, or whatever." And then we help them with that, because they're already good at doing what they're doing. They've got a level of success. They want to go next level, and you just pay a little bit for it and you get it. That's
for sure.
Why more people don't do it, I don't know. It must be an Australian thing, but it's pretty big in the US to do this sort of stuff. And they pay people to shop for them. They pay people to clean their house more. And, if you can take those activities for $50 to get your garden done or something like that, what's your hourly rate worth? If you can offload some of the stuff that you just don't need to do, unless you want to get your steps up, do it, right?
Mate, big time. Outsourcing is one of the things I go through with all my clients. The second part of the framework is your board, your personal board of directors for your life. Who do you need to put around you in close proximity on to get better results?
That's it.
People. Yeah.
Yep. So, and that's it. Yeah. And we do that in business. So with the ACN, I handpicked the board. So we have to have a board of 9 people, and we need someone who's legal. Who's the best legal in cyber? Who's someone who's expert at, this, and you find each of different skill sets, and then find the best people in your board to fill those gaps. So then you want to have some people that hold you to account, but also have a difference of opinion too. Yeah. Don't have all people same as you that are yes people.
Challenging.
Have people that you can bounce and challenge ideas off, that you learn more from that. And respectfully, if you can do that, it helps both of you out, or the whole board.
Big time.
When we can all sort of pick apart a thing and say, well, I think we should do this because I'm chair. And then the board says, actually, no, I think we should do this. And these are the reasons why. And then you can have that discourse and then actually get to a better result than if it's my way or the highway. I'm usually right at the end anyway, as you'd expect, but it's worthwhile them having an opinion. Okay, we can't with that.
Absolutely. Love it.
Let's work as a team and do it my way.
Totally. Mate, for anyone that's listened and has heard some of the things, especially in the spaces you work in, they think Jason sounds great, want to get in contact and see if it resonates to work with one another, whether it's in the cyberspace or the business development space. How do they get in contact with you? What's the best route?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is probably the best thing. I seem to do, and one of the things I want to do this year is get into different platforms, but LinkedIn, just Jason Murrell, and LinkedIn, you should find me pretty easily on there. The name spelling should be in this pod here, probably the best way. But and then if they want to DM or go through there, I'll probably have to get onto other platforms and do other things. But LinkedIn's becoming more like Instagram every day, even with the video feed stuff and change they're doing now. So it's good for business though, and I do most of my contacts. It's almost like my inbox on there during the day now. LinkedIn's probably the best way to do it. So I don't know if we could put in the show notes, maybe put the LinkedIn profile there or whatever to get in contact.
Perfect, mate. Mate, thanks very much for coming on the show. If you've listened this far, hope you got some good value out of what we've shared. There's so many gold nuggets with every episode. There's always gold nuggets, and if you've listened to a few, you'll notice that this stuff's not overcomplicated. It's actually quite simplistic, and we get in our own heads and overcomplicate all of the processes. So if I can help you, links in the show notes as well. If you want to get in touch with Jason, do that. Either way, thanks for listening. Talk to you guys in the next one.
Thanks, Johnny. Good work, mate.
Talk soon.
Well done.